I send to you, you never do. I feel very disappointed because I spend my time to prepare the question, yet you never do. Okay, take note. Oh. So with that in mind, let's start the lesson proper. All right. Oh. So as you all know, this course, okay, as I say again, you all have the basic education already, level of higher learning, you're able to rationale your thinking, your thought, right? So please, I'm going to give the lesson a bit fast, assuming that you have the rational thinking through your undergraduate study, right? So today we'll touch on management principle and practices, all right? What are the essential in the project management when you talk about management principle and practices? Okay. Oh, so there are 6 module, right, that you have to go through. Okay. Okay. Take about almost maybe 5 to 6 weeks. Then we finish it off. Then you go for your assignment exam. All right. Okay. So what is management practice? Let's look at it. The first one unit is called project management and planning. All right. So every job that we do, okay, essentially you must have a management way of running the project. And also before you run the project, right, you make sure that it's smoothly run. You must have your planning. How to plan the project, okay? When you talk about project management, okay, the definition of project management is what? For starting and also ending. It's not like production. Every day you produce the same product, day in, day out, year in, year out. Every year you produce the same product unless you do the modification. But project planning is, when you come to project management, is you acquire the project through tendering process. Once you get the project, right, you pass to your planning department or the planning manager or engineer, look at it, how to manage a project in the actual site. Then he will plan all the necessary things, right? In terms of manpower need, material need, time, safety, procurement of item, all these things, and also financial cost accounting of the project. Make sure that you don't lose money, right? Essentially, it covers all these aspects. Okay, but today we will touch on the project management. Okay, and another one is in terms of project management, most of the company talk about productivity. How good is your project planning that will lead to higher productivity? That means to say you reduce your waste, you reduce your schedule, okay, your time. Suppose a job lasts about 2 hours, but because of your worker and your engineer are very hardworking, it reduced to 1.5 hours. So you save about 0.5 hours. Okay, there is one job. But if a project have 20 jobs, you already save about 10 hours of job, right? So that will add on to your company profitability, right? Okay. So project management and planning, you should gain an understanding of the project management organization and staff responsibility, staff welfare provision and obligation, how to improve the workforce and management productivity. All right. So basically, the management and planning involve the person you select him or her to be a project manager, okay? And under him will be the project engineer, project supervisor, and project worker or technician. So each of the scope of work will be designed by the HR manager in consultation with your project manager or the project director, right? Then you come up with the organization chart, right, specifying of the role that the employee should play. Okay, each of the role of the employee responsibility, what they should do, what they should not do. So this is more on the HR side, right? Human resource and HR. Okay. After that, you think about obligation and provision. You talk about welfare. You talk about benefit, salary. Every month pay on 30th of the month. You know, medical fee. Let's say you sick, you pay. You go and see doctor. The doctor fee who pay? Company pay 50% or you pay all, right? Or company pay for you 100%. So all these are welfare, your bonuses, all right? So as an employee, you must be obligated what you have appointed by the company. You sign the letter of appointment, okay? Your job description describe what the role should be, then you have to perform accordingly, all right? These are called site welfare and provision. Okay. How to improve workforce and management productivity is, first thing is very important. If you want to improve the workforce productivity, all the members of the project team must work cooperatively. All right. If everyone do their own job and never cooperate, never communicate, your productivity will never improve. So very important for the project manager to understand the diversity of the people, right? Your people behavior, right? And also your people's skill, and you must allocate the job accordingly to their skill and responsibility. Okay, take note of that. Oh. Okay. Organization of project management. There are many ways to identify and break down a project in relevant stages, such as sequencing, parallel, staggered processing, whereby stages may be overlapped, such as the use of phase design construct procedure for fast track operation. All right. So in terms of project layout, project so-called continuous run. Okay, you can plan in sequential, you can plan in parallel or staggered processing. Depend on the demand of the tender job and what sort of job you are doing, so that you can, based on these three methods, to develop, okay, project timeline. All right. Okay, from the timeline you created, you end up having a critical path analysis where whether you want to run in sequential or parallel or staggered, depend on the work schedule that you have planned. Okay, this one will be done by the planner, planning manager, or the engineer, right? So take note of that. Any question? No, I will continue. Top management to decide the team, right? So first and foremost, in an organization, you should have company policy. All right. Everywhere you go, even Nanyang also have company policy, right? So the project life cycle. So very important thing is how this project going to start and end. What are the resources you require for the whole project? So you must think about how does this work going to perform according to what you plan, right? So you must know the whole process when you get the job from your client. So one thing is, how are you going to assume the project life cycle is proper, right? So you have to break down the whole tender process, the obligation that you are asked to perform by the client, and you determine what type of manpower you require and who are involved, and what sort of relationship do you have among the project team, right? And what are you going to handle for the external entity? So that means you do construction project in Singapore, you have to work with the external party like NEA, okay, National Environment Agency, Manpower Ministry on the so-called the safety and health issue, and you have to deal with technical aspect where you work with the building construction authority, where you talk about specification, the structure specification, right? The cement or the mixer, cement mix, right? What is a sum test, all this sort of thing. Okay, so this will be concerning your external party, and more importantly is your resident. Singapore is a very small country, very closely knitted. So when they build a HDB block, beside already have people staying. So how are you going to control this to reduce the noise of the construction site, all these things, right? So you have to work with external party. For example, HDB, you have to work with the Singapore, they call it Town Council. Town Council is a person or is a department in government statutory agency who manage the whole town. So if the contractor or if you are the contractor who tender the job and you get the job, your work is within the estate, then you have to take care of their requirement by the town council. Okay, these are all external entities that somewhere, somehow will affect your project timeline and also cost, right? Okay, what type of organization you want to form, it depends on the project need, right? Can be typical metric organization or project-oriented organization. So as you can see here, okay, this is a matrix, right? So what happened is you have two projects. Okay, one project here got project engineer or project manager decided by the higher management, sent from a functional group, come here to lead the project one. Another one will be project manager two, right? Another person from the company organization. So you have two projects, project one and project two. So you carry out the job, you recruit people. If internal people you have not enough, you advertise and recruit people for project one and project two. And further than that, you say, okay, I have the technical expertise. I no need to employ designer, engineer. I no need to employ mechanical engineer. So you call the functional group. Okay, this is electrical, this is mechanical. All right, this is a project management consultant. So all these people will be sent from the functional side to help in the project one and project two. This is typically a metric organization, right? Okay. Second one will be the project oriented. That means to say, whatever project you get, project 1, 2, 3 will be headed by one person taking care of 3 projects, or one person each project, and the people will supply from the higher management and functional group. Okay, could be procurement, could be civil engineer, or come to here to work as in a project for the time duration. Okay, after they finish the job, the project manager and engineer or the worker or technician supervisor will go back to the organization, the company existing organization. Okay, project-oriented organization is very good in the sense that you have project, then you form out the group, and you make use of your present staff, present people in your company to handle the project. So that means to say you save costs, right? And you have the familiar people who work on the project. You just second them to project 1, 2, 3. They are very familiar with the project. They know how to run, rather than you recruit someone from outside to become a project manager, later you have a lot of complication if that guy don't have the relevant experience. All right, take note. Okay, so in Singapore, system is when you set up a company as a subcon or main con, okay, you want to get a job from the government, from the private, you have to go for tender process. So during the pre-tender process, maybe you have an employee in a company, you have to set up a responsibility and relationship between each party, communication system and control procedure. Like for example, accounting system, right? Management accounting, how you control the cost, how you issue the purchase order, all these things will be set in the control procedure. Okay, communication, you may say, okay, every month you have a project meeting. Right? Every week, every day you have a two-board meeting with the worker, with the technician, with the supervisor. Right? And 6 months, you have a project meeting with the financial manager to determine the profitability of the company. So all these things, your procedure have to develop and stipulate so that company, when your employee work in that project, they know what it's all about and they are able to manage a system based on what you have written in the organization structure. All right. So the influencing factor of this structure will be company policy, location of project, size and complexity. And the more complex it is, you become you want to be a matrix organization or a project-oriented organization is up to your boss or your project manager side. Type of contract, right? Could be construction contract, could be cleaning contract, could be interior decoration contract, okay? And span on control, depend on the size of the project. You may break up each in one person in charge of 5% or 4%, or one person in charge of 10% if the job is not so technical requirement, okay? So you just organize the work, that's all. The people know what to do. But if you have a job that is require a lot of technical consideration, you may want to employ another 2 or 3 designers under you, right? So depend on the scope of the work and the availability of the staff. You may want to recruit extra for a contract basis, maybe 3 months, 2 months, or 6 months. Okay, that all depend on the type of the tender that you have won. Okay. Okay, organization structure. Okay, define the role and responsibility. The hierarchy, that means the project manager, project engineer, supervisor. Under the supervisor, there are technician and worker level. That is the hierarchy. Okay, the chain of command, same. Okay, responsibility of a person. If a project manager, who to report to him, and he had to report to the CEO. All right. Channel, again, same communication channel. And where can you find the organization structure? Right. In the organization master plan, organization company structure, within the company procedure, they should have. Okay. HR should work with the project director to come out organization structure so that everybody understand their role in a project. Right. So you can see here, okay, relationship. Okay, you talk about direct, superior and his subordinate. Okay, dedication and authority. Suppose you are the construction supervisor, what do you in charge of? Okay, how you dedicate your work, how you coordinate the work, right? Lecturer is your same boss or the same supervisor, all right? Okay, so there is no such thing as 2 bosses because you work under multiple bosses and an employee will get confused. So do not plan in such a way that you have 2 bosses. Okay. Function, indirect authority between specialist, executive, and member of the organization, not in the field of interest. All right. So, for example, you are the designer, a civil engineer designer, structural designer. You don't work with the construction supervisor, because the construction supervisor only report to the project engineer, not to the designer, executive. Right? So you must be very clear about all these things, right? So that there won't be any conflict among the functional group, right? So staff function is maybe people from the headquarters advise, example like a project management consultant is doing the advisory role, like the safety and health consultant. He also provide the advisory on the work site safety and health management. Okay, take note. Okay, 3 example: medium, large, and complex. Okay, structural communication is to be established to reduce conflict and misunderstanding. So, irrespective of the contract size, okay, a structured, proper communication system have to be in place. Okay, so that issue will not have any problem where you have a so-called structural or proper hierarchy of reporting the issue, so that we can resolve it amicably between both parties. Right? So take note. Okay, example of mixed-size organization, I will not talk about it. Okay. Large size organization is so big. Even this one, even worse. Okay. So there are many type of organization structure you may encounter if you start working outside. Not in Singapore, could be Malaysia, could be India, could be Europe, everywhere. The organization structure is more or less the same. Okay. Okay, group. Contractor organization, okay, there are mainly managerial, technical, clerical, and operation. Operation is the labor, technician, construction supervisor, construction project engineer. Okay, the title also vary from firm to firm, right? So you can see that the title is not important. It's the way that you want to carry out the job, perform the job, right? So the project director have to think about it, how to set up the organization structure such a way that it will not fail the project. Okay, you will not have conflicts on the project. Okay, it will make money for the company rather than lost money because of miscommunication, right? Okay, responsibility and function of site staff. So generally, you can see a general manager will take care of the site area, or they call it project director or project manager, depend on the company definition. Okay, not necessarily all the site must have a general manager, depend on the company size and also the organization structure that the chief executive officer will decide. Okay, take note. So this big shot people like general manager or higher, they don't go to the site often. Everything they pass down to the project director or the project manager to manage the site. Okay. So project director, okay, physical contractual progression on all project, both PM and CM construction, okay, report to him. That means to say on the site you have a project manager and a construction manager. Okay, each have different role of working, right? Okay, so in terms of daily report, okay, receive progress report from PM. CM will assist in procurement contractual matter. Okay, all these things is stated. Okay, here only give you a generic one, but if as I said, it depends on the project. What is the project is all about? Then the scope of PM and CM can be changed. All right, all report to GM or the project director most of the time. must attend monthly meeting, etc. All right. So when the need, you need to attend meeting. Okay. So contract manager will be stationed in headquarters. You will advise the project manager about the whole issue of the contract obligation. Okay, in terms of cost, in terms of time, in terms of quality, in terms of legal problem, okay, in terms of purchasing of raw material or engaging of the subcontractor to assist you in the work. So all these things will be done, okay, by the contract manager with consultation with the project manager or the GM of the site. Okay, you know. Okay, project manager, as say here, site agent, where he is responsible for all the operation in the site. Okay, you have to know the progress, the timing, the costing, and the quality of the work. Right. So the role is quite clear here. Broad statement: organize and coordinate, plan for site organization and store, have sufficient workforce, liaise with production or procurement department to purchase or to recruit employee, subcontractor supervision, information coordination with design team, plan the sequence of work, record all event of relevant information, record all variation and changes. So you can see that as a project manager, his role is very wide. Okay, that's why in Singapore, project managers are well paid. For instance, a project manager with 5 years working experience easily command about $7,000 per month. Singapore dollar, $7,000 per month. Okay, that is a minimum standing. If you talk about working in a not so big firm, but reasonably established company. But if you go for SME small company, the salary is not so much. Okay. Project coordinator will be like supervisor, project supervisor, right? In Singapore, we are practicing in this way. The project coordinator will be acting as a safety supervisor, as a project coordinator, and also as a project supervisor. So all these things will be managed by him in a site, right? So you coordinate with the foreman, with the engineer, with the safety officer or safety manager about the whole site operation. If you're in need of people, you highlight to the project manager, he will find people to come in, right? So all these things will be done by the coordinator. You can see here, they monitor the progress, labor, and material. They liaise with the foreman, or sometimes they call it assistant supervisor. Organizing skill and semi-skill, that means the operator, okay, the construction worker, the skill technician. Recommend operation and management for essential recruitment, then interview, order equipment, all these things you have to initiate, then the procurement people will order accordingly. So sometimes if you have in Singapore context, if you have a safety supervisor certificate, okay, recognized by Ministry of Manpower, okay, EHS, Occupational and Health Department, then you can be acting as a safety supervisor. Setting up measurement and record, all these things will be done by you, collect data and you input and come up with a monthly progress report. All right. So all these things will be done as a coordinator. So in construction site, project coordinator or project supervisor is a very busy person. He lies with the top and lies with the bottom. I mean, talk to both sides to get the overall picture and feedback to the top management and also feedback to the bottom level, the progress and what are the issues that they face. We have to rectify them, right? So being a project coordinator is not so high salary, but also very high responsibility. Okay. Site engineer, of course, here they said recognized by PE board. Okay, site engineer could be civil engineer, could be mechanical engineer. So all these engineers, they have a basic degree. That degree is recognized by professional engineer board. Okay, which is this agency that give you the PE status, project engineer status. They are in Singapore, they call it Singapore engineers. Okay, Singapore PE board, they call it. Okay, number may be stipulated in act and contractual requirement. Okay, so when you tender a job, okay, you must take note of this now. Sometimes your own people, you don't have a PE professional engineer, then you tender, then you get the job, then the owner require a PE signature or PE to look at the design and all this thing. Then you may recruit an engineer to come in with the PE title, or you can engage on part-time to come in to study the whole design concept and etc. Right? So in this one you have to pay. It's very high cost when you engage an engineer with PE recognition. So in Singapore, there are many types of PE certification. For example, HVAC, right? Heating, aircon, ventilation, all this, they require a PE. Electrical engineer, okay, as also a PE. The civil engineer also same. Structural also same. So all these things have a basic degree recognized by Singapore government, and this degree recognized by them, you can be certified as a professional engineer upon your working experience. That means you must minimum have a 5 years experience, then you can register with the PE board. Okay, as a professional engineer. Could be mechanical, could be electrical, could be civil engineer, could be structural engineer. Okay, take note. And all this engineer is governed by the Act. Okay. Handling more technical matter than project engineer, right? Then project coordinator. So all these things will be done. Okay, just a simple example here. I don't want to explain further. Production controller. Okay, so controller is one who act as a in middle between the office and your site. Okay, then he will control the whatever thing that is being issued out to the people to construct, to work on the site and measure the timing, etc. Okay, so you have a progress report every week, every month, maybe a quarterly, right? So production controller, some project management company, they don't have production controller. They all managed by the project manager himself or the project engineer himself. Okay. Okay, responsibility and function of site staff, administrative, executive, timekeeper, store, and etc. Right. So all these things will be regulated, controlled, and managed by the project manager, and they are assisted by the project supervisor or the project coordinator. Right. So this is the way that in Singapore we practice. Right. So relationship, all these things, I leave it to you to read. Okay, estimating, planning, purchasing, okay, QS also come from the headquarters, account, whether you receive payment or you pay the external party when you buy the raw material, etc. Okay, plant department, all the equipment that you send to the site, you rent, you have to pay. So all these things will be handled by the headquarters. Okay, you are the project group, you only manage the project and make sure that they finish the job based on the master's schedule that you have created early on. Okay. Okay, question. who are the external party that have direct influence over contracted site, right? So you take note, I will create this type of question for you all. Okay, just now I explained already. Oh. So the client could be you talk about building Singapore, it could be the private one, condominium, bungalow, all these are your client, right? If you talk about government, job will be HDB block, infrastructure, highway, road, tunneling, cable, all these are government agency job. Okay, these are the client. If you are the contractor, you have to depend on them to earn a living, right? So take note of that. Okay, consultant, QS, there are many consultants, okay, in terms of quantity surveying. There are consultant company that get the job from the client or from the project team to do an estimation of the whole project in terms of cost, in terms of time, everything. This QS consultant, they are very experienced, so they know what to tell you, what not to tell you, and what are the things to look out for if you pay them the right amount of money. Okay, take note. Okay, technical officer, RTO, is a requirement in Singapore in doing construction, doing tunneling whatsoever. So if you are certified by the Building Control Authority as a technical officer, resident technical officer, you have to follow by the Act, Building Control Act, okay? Then you have to carry out inspection during the construction, and after finish, you have to go around the building to inspect, see got any defect based on according to your drawing by the designer, right? So RTO in Singapore is very well paid, and RTO need a diploma certificate from Singapore Poly, not from outside Poly, okay? And must be 7 to 10 years experience, then recommended by the PE that he's so-called have the skill to be qualified as RTO, okay? And this guy will go to Building Construction Authority to be interviewed by the officer there. One interview about technical aspect, for example, you are RTO for mechanical. They will ask you about mechanical piping work, etc. Right? So all these things, once they certified, you can come out, you come back to your workplace, okay? You are appointed as RTO. Sometimes RTO, they are work part-time one. Full-time salary is about 7 to 9,000. A part-time based on project. One project you sign the so-called inspection every month. There's a document to be submitted to the relevant authority. When you sign, that means certify the building is all okay. Then you have to collect money and they send to the government. So this one is RTO is basically act as a in between government and private agency. Okay. What is the basis clarification and the procedure prior to official takeover? Okay. So any project that you've done, you have to close up the project. What are the things to do? Let's discuss on the next one. Okay. Site documentation and system. Okay. So for example, your job, you're building a HDB flat already completed. Then you have to pick out the plan and assess whether the drawing is tally to your specific site work, okay, accordingly. Okay, if not, accordingly, you have to do a rebalancing or recheck or remodify again according to the drawing. Okay, and this one must be certified by the engineer. The PE said that, okay, all okay. According to the plan, according to the layout plan, the building is constructed in such a way. That means the PE will give the assessment, okay, and write a report on the building Okay, and he will submit a report, and after he signed the report, you have to pay them, right? And all the checklists, everything all incorporated, all the licenses like what do you call it? TOP, temporary occupational permit. That means you build the building already. TOP issued by the PE and also the government building control, building construction authority. Then you have the TOP. TOP signify that you can move in to the building. If not, you without the permit, without the TOP license, you cannot move in to the new house. All right. Okay. So these are all the document essential for you as a construction guy. Okay. As a project guy, another different way. If you look at IT project, it's very different. If you look at the maintenance system, also very different. So just now I was talking is all on construction related. But now you talk about IT, how are you going to do it? Okay. So you have to think about it. Okay. Any question? Hello?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Clear?
You can continue. Yeah.
Okay, next one I will talk about is productivity. So productivity in Singapore is very important. Same as India, same as Bangladesh, okay, same as Myanmar, same as Malaysia, everything. Okay, what I mean by productivity? Productivity, whatever you input, okay, that means your work amount, you give it to your best to achieve what you design for. And with that, the cost, everything you already calculated, and whatever you finish the job is according to what you plan for. Okay, or even better. Let's say you plan for this project, you take about 6 months, but you finish in 5 months. That means you save 1 month. So that is a productivity of maybe 20%. Okay, so this is the way that in Singapore we practice. I think all over the world is the same, right? So any project, anything to do, you must achieve the productivity that your boss wanted. Okay, so it's very important because end of the day you cannot achieve that type of productivity target. Okay, or in other words, they call it effective and efficient target that you want to achieve, and you never achieve, your productivity go down. That means you spend $1, you only do 80% job. That means actual job you only do 80%, not 100%. So that is not productive. Okay, that is only 80% of your production only. The 20% you go down to waste. Go down to the drain, you cannot recoup back. Okay, that means to say, if you look at the manpower, let's say you plan this job is about 5 manpower, 5 person to do the job, right? And do the job, 5 person is 1 week can finish, but eventually due to unforeseen circumstances, 5 person job, but it finished in 2 weeks. That means your efficiency, your productivity is only 50%. So what went wrong with that? You have to think about it. Okay? So productivity in every way is very important for you to make, for the company to make profit. All right? So take note. Okay? So here you say that project activity usually account for half the annual expenditure on capital goods in many countries, right? That means to say your manpower cost. Okay, anything to do, always manpower is the most headache point where you want to achieve, but the people does not cooperate with me, with the company, or the people that you recruit do not have the access or the manpower need. Okay, or the qualified manpower to do the production or do the construction yet. Okay, so in that aspect, your efficiency, your effectiveness will drop. That means to say your productivity will drop, right? Take note of that. An increment of productivity in a project will not only raise the financial income of those working in the industry, it will also improve the productivity of other sectors, thereby improving the overall economy. Okay? So productivity in Singapore, we measure as a country. Okay? So you look at this in that perspective. If one person can do a project in 2 hours, right? Okay, but actually he can do 1 hour. That means your productivity per person, okay, is 50% more than normal. So you can calculate if 100%, that will be tremendous improvement of productivity. That's why it's very important for company to measure the productivity so that eventually what they want to see is the income. Whatever I pay you one day, the job you can do in half a day. That means to say they save the money to pay you by 50%. That means there is an overall improvement of the company. And that reflect on the whole economy. Is everyone in Singapore do this way, right? Take note. So there is a major reason why project company have been trying harder than ever to increase their level of productivity. All right. So in terms of managing a productivity, there are many factors that you have to take into consideration. Not only high salary, right? You talk about productivity is managed by human. So humans sometimes they have up and down. Okay. So how to maintain that type of productivity as a person, as a project manager to your people? So first thing you have to do is communication. As a project manager, you must communicate to check, okay, what happened to him, what's went wrong. Maybe he got at home a problem with his wife or the family. He come back to work, he's not productive enough. So he's slack. All right. One thing. Okay. Okay. So you take note of that, huh? All right. So wait for a while. The school want to take attendance. Huh? So can you show all your faces, please? Please show your faces. Don't ask me. Don't let me call you and call and call. Huh? I seek your cooperation. Okay. Anthony, Jivan. Oh, so many faces not around. Okay. Oh. So you can see, as you can see that the important thing is to manage a group to reach the type of production activity that you want or productivity that you want, so that you can enhance your company profitability and competitiveness. So as a project manager, you must know about communication. You must understand the culture of the people. That means diversity. you must understand the work situation so that you can plan the work according to the experience of the worker, right? Third thing, you must know the cost of the project, how to regulate the cost to such an extent that you don't exceed the budgeted amount. So you can see that beside this, there are many things that a project manager have to consider. So it's not easy to manage a project, right? Take note of that. Okay. So absenteeism is one of them. If you cannot communicate with your people and the people get angry with you, tomorrow you don't see them already. Because why? You go and see doctor, he falls sick, and that's it. Then he can never come to work. Then your productivity will drop. Right. So there are a lot of ways of defining productivity. Could be manpower, could be material, could be the material wastage, could be the power, electrical power usage. Okay, all these things. So there's many things that you can think about to maintain a good productivity for your company, so that your company don't pay more than what the project requires. Right? So you can see management, labor, manpower, all these things require special skill. Like for example, you are a construction supervisor, a site supervisor. How you manage your people, right? In Singapore, in the construction site, there's always this supervisor is always promoted from the ground level, from the last time they are worker level. So after working in Singapore for 5 years, 6 years, or 7 years, the company decided to promote him to supervisor. But most of the people do not understand how to become a good supervisor. Okay, that is a flaw in Singapore context. That's why a lot of supervision doesn't mean that you promote, you can become supervisor. There are so many things that you have to take into consideration, okay, as a supervisor, right? Take note. Okay, focus. If you are construction site, you can see the project site. Okay, site supervisor, supervision, cost control, value engineering, design standard, design improvement, have a high potential of productivity improvement. Material, project technique, and regulation have medium opportunity. So you can see, basically here is site supervisor. If you can supervise your people properly, the people do things, a lot of mistake, then the project delay costs money. Okay, so you must understand this, right? Take note. Okay. Area for focus is material, supply chain, right? You may use prefab. Singapore is quite clear now. Construction building, especially government building, they use prefabrication and standardization. Okay, so there is always, when you have standardized, any way you can make it, not at the site, at the factory. All right, so your measurement and all these things, quality standard will be there. So you bring to the site, then you install. Okay, especially prefabrication work, right? The use of more standard component and product. Okay, this is what Singapore doing. Now a toilet in a HDB flat, you can, okay, build a toilet at other place, then you ferry to the site and you install on the site, right? This is quite common in Singapore nowadays, right? So that is, if you do the prefabrication work in this way, that means you do parallel project work. That means to say, site you do thing, on the other side you also do another thing. So same thing together, two things at one time, but you only pay the same rate, right? So that it will be a gain in production. There will be a gain in so-called accuracy and time saving. Okay. Detailed material delivery also, this one very important for the procurement or purchasing manager, have to deal with the project manager to decide when the time for delivery and when the time to use the material rather than keep on the site where it corrode, it become rusty and the material strength lose out. Then you have to buy the new material again. So this also very play an important part to the project supervisor, project engineer and project manager have to work together to coordinate, inform the purchasing manager when the thing have to be arrived. Okay. Quality control is one of them. If you have a quality assurance team in a work site, that's very good, right? And they can be trained, and they can train your production supervisor, the construction supervisor, the project supervisor, right? So in Singapore, there is no robotic. Now we are trying to do robotic fabrication of pieces of building, but it's very difficult, okay? Because they need huge capital investment and train operator. Same as Singapore. Last time we talked about AI, okay, artificial intelligence. Nowadays, very common now, right? Last time when you ask me to do this, ask people to do this, they scared, they got phobia. But now artificial intelligence is part and parcel of our life already. Okay, and this one going to progress very fast, okay, in year to come. So your productivity will increase. Okay, take note. Okay, education, okay, have been defined as those activities that aim to develop knowledge, morale, value, and understanding of in all walk of life. Okay, so like for example now, in Nanyang, you all come to study some project management so that hopefully in future you can become a project manager or project engineer. Based on your qualification, your undergraduate, you want to take up project engineer for mechanical work. For example, you are a mechanical graduate, right? Okay, so take note of that. So education in Singapore is quite common. Okay, we talk about continuous learning, lifelong learning. So in terms of construction, there is a regulation stipulate that you work in construction site, you have to go to some basic course in terms of safety and health. And also when you do some excavation, you need to learn how to operate the excavator. This one, they call it core skill requirement. Okay, anybody want to learn to drive excavator to dig earth from the ground, you have to go for the course conducted by Building Construction Academy in Bendemeer there. All right. So these are the things that you require. Like for example, you want to go in shipyard, you have to go to basic shipyard safety training. Okay, and core skill will be welding or piping and etc. Okay, so this is ongoing in Singapore. Why? We want to make sure that they know the way to do things and they are properly trained so that they won't have mistake. All right. So same, all right. So training have been defined as the systematic development of attitude, knowledge, skill, behavior required by an individual in order to perform adequately a given task, right? Take note of that. Okay. So you can see as a turnover of project operative is usually higher. Because why? Because the project is on term basis, that means contractual basis. So your project 6 months, you only recruit the enough manpower to cater for 6 months. You don't want to, after project finish, these people will leave the project because you can't pay them to doing nothing, right? So this is a way, okay? So here he said, by enrolling the technical untrained to recognize technical institutions such as BCA, just now I said Building Construction Authority Academy, not the contractor recruit them for service. That means to say, the people trained already, they have a qualification, the project finished, they can apply for other job without further training. It's good for the worker, for the people, but no good for the company, because after project finish, he dismiss all the people, then these people go and find another job. Then if you have a job, that means you have no people. You have to resend them for training again. All right, which is no good, which is affecting the productivity of the company. Okay. So general control and motivation practices. Right. So when both set of needs are not met, workers feel that their jobs are challenging and important, and generally prompted to higher productivity. Okay. So the following offer an overview, a set of approach to work control and motivation. So what does it mean? Let's take a look. Okay. Improve communication. That means supervisory and also the manager and the worker must have a good communication, and every now and then you must communicate so that you understand each other. You can improve the communication, and everybody will be happy because it shows that the boss show concern about them, talk to them, right? Then your work will be, output will be better, so your productivity can improve. Okay. So sharing manpower, etc. Okay. Poor communication. Okay. That's the worst. So we don't want to have a poor communication to all the members, to the contractor, to the main con, to the subcon, to your own people, because all these things will affect the productivity of the work site. All right, take note. Okay, oral communication by verbal, by morning, every morning there is a two-board meeting, brief them about the situation, brief them about the project, timeline, brief the progress of the project, etc. Okay, and written is by so-called notice board, by email, by messages, all these things. Then people understand what it's all about. Then they will help. They try their best to help to improve the productivity of the company. Okay, most industries create and monitor written communication at the same pace. Of course, okay, when you start a job, definitely you have all this procedure put in place, especially the communication portfolio for your people, for the engineer, etc. Okay. Project supervisor also have record, etc. Right. So individual required to fill a form should be where the data and how you use, right? So this one is depend on the company. Okay, what form you want to create for a worker. Some company, they don't want to do this because there is an increase of the workload of the worker and the administrative staff. So only by verbal, oral communication is good enough. Then you can monitor the day-to-day job on the site. The project manager or the project engineer supervisor will go to the site and see and help them and highlight to the management in case of anything not good enough to meet the productivity target. All right. So challenge of the work processes. Okay, you can see that any project, there is always a challenge. That depends on how challenges is this, how difficult it is, depend on the quality of the supervisor, quality of the project engineer, project manager. So if three parties can work together, I think the downline, the worker, the technician should not have any problem in terms of challenges. They can settle among themselves. That means it's very good if you have a good communication strategy in the work site, right? Take note. Okay. So here is nothing much, same as I said. All right. So these are the questions. If you discuss and talk about it in the meeting, progress meeting, project progress meeting, there is every day there is one progress meeting early in the morning and late in the evening. So all these things will be done. Okay. So you can see that the question they ask is 6W lah. Why, when, okay, where, which, who, and whom, and what. Alright? So I leave it to you to read. Scheduling also very important. Okay, the 3 different types of scheduling. Alright. So scheduling, you can see that we always use the critical path analysis to determine the best time to do a project, whether it's sequential or parallel. Right. So this one, you need a computer system. You need Pastel, okay, to do this project. Okay, and you need a Gantt chart to produce this project schedule. Right. Okay. So these are the things that as a supervisor, you must guide your worker to create the master schedule. Yeah, the work that you've done. Okay. So resources, all this. Okay. So what do they do? Your schedule is what? You have to plan such a way according to your master schedule. You have to plan out the number of people for each job every day, the equipment you require, the material you require. All these things have to be planned 1 day before or 1 week before. So all these things will be planned accordingly. Work with the planner or the project engineer to secure this type of work, so that as a supervisor, you know what to do, right? You have everything all planned out, so the work will not have any problem. They will not have a lag time. In fact, there should be a lead time for the job to be completed much earlier than expected if you plan it properly. So end of the day is about planning of schedule, planning of manpower, planning of material arrival, planning of paying the supplier money, planning of what you call inspection, planning of schedule which will meet the productivity target. Right. So all these things will come into play when you talk about scheduling of work. Okay. Then analysis also. Okay. Untimely, inaccurate. All these things will be decided by the project manager, and project engineer will decide how much time lost or earlier. Then you can take your time to plan for other activity. Okay. Take note. Okay. So these are all the same. So project report also must include like these few days, keep on raining, the construction activity have been slowed down, and there is a productivity loss. So how are you going to correct that schedule? So one way is to increase the manpower, okay, or work overtime when there's no rain. Maybe evening time no rain, you work longer hour. Okay, all these things will be decided by the project manager upon seeing the project is behind schedule. Okay. So all this they can do. All right. So equipment productivity is the same. Okay, the way that you manage the equipment is you need the equipment, then you rent out. You rent from the outside contractor, and they deliver the time that you want to use the equipment. Don't order the equipment before the using of the equipment. Maybe 1 week later, then you use. Then you provide a 1 week rental free. You never make use of the equipment. So there is a productivity loss. Okay, because this type of rent is very expensive. Like for example, a 100-ton crane. Okay, last time 1 day 100-ton crane is about $1,000 to $1,200 per day, 8 hours only. So if you imagine 1,000 to 5 days is $6,000. You never use the crane, you have to pay 6,000. So it's very, very expensive. Okay, you must take note of this. Okay, when you do this project. Then the maintenance also. Make sure that the maintenance, the equipment is properly greased up, properly maintained, so that when you want to use, do not have any complication. So the project supervisor, project engineer have to check all these things. And also according to the law. Law also requires certain equipment to maintain in this manner. For example, the crane. Okay, every year you have to have a PE inspection, 6 months one time. Okay, so all these things have to be done before you can use the crane for your construction project. Right. Okay, so all these things have to be documented and you calculate. Right. So safety is one of the most critical aspect in terms of project management, right? So anything hurt, anybody got hurt or injured, okay, most probably your job will be stopped by the Ministry of Manpower, Occupational Safety and Health Department. So one is stopped until you rectify, okay, everything okay, then they will allow you to start back. And if the worker got injured, you have to pay for hospitalization, etc. And salary also. You have to recruit another one, come in to replace him. That also costs money. Right. So in terms of safety in project work, company are very concerned. Right. That's why they employ safety officer to watch out for the work, etc. Okay, a safety officer who have 5 years experience easily command $4,000 to $5,000 per month. Okay. Oh, so they have to do a lot of things. In terms of safety, they have to do risk assessment. They have to watch out for the worker morale. Because low morale, they may have an accident or incident. Then when they get accident, your insurance pay and the next premium will be higher than what you paid previously. So a productive job, as what you say here, is a safe job. Right? Whatever you do in terms of production, okay, that means to say your work is safe, you've done properly, professionally, so that incident will not happen. Okay. So this one program in any construction site, there is a safety program. Okay, managed by the safety officer and the project manager. Okay. Quality. Okay. So in terms of quality, any question? Hello?
No, sir.
No, sir. Can continue.
Okay, what I do, I'll stop here because tomorrow we have another day. Then I will brief you the assignment, what you're supposed to do, and finish this one. Okay? Hello?
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir.
Please go and read them because
Okay, sir.
all the
Okay, sir.
question,
Okay, sir.
all the question come from the slide that you see. And also you need to do some research. Okay, as I told you, all this assignment carry mark. If you don't do, your mark will be gone. Okay. So any other question before I end it? Hello? Oh, 22. Minus 120.
No, sir. Everything is good.
Okay. So, okay, I stop the slide.
Sure.
Okay. So, see you tomorrow, same time, 10:30. Okay?
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank
Bye,
you.
sir.